My daughter-in-law's foot slammed into my hand, knocking the silver polish from my grip. "Hurry up, you old servant!" she screamed, her voice echoing in the grand dining room. I looked at my son, Robert, who just sighed and looked away. "Do as she says, Mom. We can't be late for my big promotion dinner." They had no idea. They had no idea that I was the anonymous new owner of his company, and this promotion dinner they were so excited for was actually a meeting with me. But before I continue, make sure you're already subscribed the channel.
The dinner, of course, was my idea. It had been 6 months since my husband, Arthur, passed away. 6 months since the house, our house, became a silent, hollow museum of his things. He had been the founder and the genius behind Apex Solutions, the tech firm he'd built from nothing. I was just his wife, the one who hosted the Christmas parties and remembered his partner's birthdays. That's what they all thought, anyway. 2 months after the funeral, my son, Robert, and his wife, Serafina, moved in. "Just until we get on our feet, Mom," Robert had said, his eyes avoiding mine. "The market is just so tough." Serafina had smiled, a tight, thin smile that never reached her eyes, as she wheeled her suitcase across the marble floor. I didn't mind, at first. The silence was gone. I liked taking care of them. It felt useful. I made them breakfast. I ironed Robert's shirts for his job at Apex, the one his father had given him. I'd clean up the coffee cups Serafina left scattered around the living room, remnants of her work-from-home day, which seemed to mostly involve online shopping and loud phone calls. But taking care of them slowly became serving them. It started with small things. "Elara, the coffee is bitter," Serafina would call from the sofa. Not Mom, just Elara. "Elara, these curtains are depressing. You really should update this place." I'd look to Robert, but he'd just be scrolling on his phone, lost in his own world. "She's just stressed, Mom. Her job is very demanding," he'd murmur later. But I saw the way she spoke to him, and it was never like that. Which brings us to tonight, the big promotion dinner. Robert was on track to become a senior vice president. He was so proud. He said the new anonymous owner of Apex was shaking things up and that he was being personally reviewed. "We have to impress them, Mom," he said. "This is my one shot." So I was polishing Arthur's silver, my silver, the set we'd received for our wedding. That's when Serafina stormed in, already in her cocktail dress. "What are you doing? We're leaving in 20 minutes, she snapped. "You're not even dressed." "I'm just finishing this last goblet, dear. It's for—" That's when her foot shot out. Not a stumble, a kick, hard and sharp against the bones in my hand. "Hurry up, you old servant!" I looked at Robert. He stood in the doorway, straightening his tie, his face flushed with impatience. He sighed. "Do as she says, Mom. We can't be late." He didn't look at my hand. He didn't look at the silver on the floor. He just waited for me to obey. They left. I heard the front door slam, followed by the roar of their car. I went to the sink and ran cold water over my knuckles, which were already turning a deep, angry purple. Robert was a fool, a sweet, weak, ambitious fool. He thought he worked for a faceless corporation. He thought his promotion was being decided by a board of strangers. He had no idea that when Arthur died, his blind trust of controlling shares wasn't blind at all. The shares, all 51% of them, had transferred directly to me. For 6 months, I had been the anonymous new owner, the one who was shaking things up, the one who would be personally interviewing the final candidate for SVP tonight. The candidate, my son, who thought his promotion dinner was at a downtown steakhouse.
not in the private executive boardroom on the 50th floor. The kick? The kick wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the sigh. The sigh from my son who chose a promotion over his own mother. That's when I knew the promotion review was over. It was time for the performance review. I gave them a 45-minute head start, just enough time for them to get to the restaurant, order a drink, and feel important. Then I went to my study. Not Arthur's study, my study. The one I'd set up in the guest room, the one they never entered. I opened my laptop. My anonymous email account, the one registered to E. Sloan, Managing Director, was already open. First, I called Michael, the head of HR. A good man. He'd been with Arthur since the beginning. "Michael," I said, my voice no longer the soft, hesitant voice of Mom. It was the voice I used when I ran the charity board. "Michael, it's Elara. I'm calling about the SVP review for Robert Sloan." There was a pause. "Mrs. Sloan, I thought you were at home." "Yes, but I'm also the new owner. It's time we made that clear. I'll be conducting the final review personally. Are you at the office?" "Yes, ma'am, I am." "Good. Pull his file. I want to see everything. His performance reviews, his expense reports, his salary negotiations. And Michael, I want you in the executive boardroom in 30 minutes, with security." "Security, ma'am?" "Yes. This is no longer a promotion dinner. This is a disciplinary hearing." While I waited, I looked at his file. It was disappointing. Robert hadn't been climbing the ladder. He'd been riding his father's elevator. His performance reviews were mediocre, filled with polite phrases like lacks initiative and relies heavily on team support. But his expense reports, oh, Serafina. $500 for a single client dinner at a sushi restaurant on a Saturday. $3,000 for client gifts in December, all from a high-end jewelry store. He wasn't just my son. He was a liability, a thief who was stealing from my company, from my husband's legacy. And Serafina, a quick search of the company's consulting invoices was all it took. She'd been billing the marketing department for $10,000 a month for social media strategy, yet her deliverables were just links to her personal Instagram. The anger was cold now, clear. I went to my closet. I doffed out the gray cardigan I'd been wearing. I put on the dark navy pantsuit Arthur had always said made me look formidable. I put on the simple pearl earrings he gave me when we signed the first lease for the company 30 years ago. I looked in the mirror. The sad, tired old servant was gone. The CEO was looking back. My driver, Frank, who had also been Arthur's driver and knew everything, was waiting for me. "The office, Frank," I said as I got in, "and please don't wait." As the car cut through the city, my phone buzzed. It was Robert. A text message. "Where are you? The restaurant says the reservation is at 8, not 7, and it's at the Apex building? Did you mess this up, Mom?" I smiled. I didn't text back. The elevator ride to the 50th floor was quiet. When the doors opened, the executive boardroom was waiting. Michael was there, standing by the long mahogany table. 2 uniformed security guards stood by the door. "Mrs. Sloan?" He nodded, holding out the file. "Thank you, Michael," I said. "Please wait outside with the guards. Have them send my son and his wife in, just as soon as they arrive." I sat at the head of the long, dark mahogany table. Arthur's chair. My chair. The only light came from the city's skyline, which painted the room in cold electric light. In front of me, 1 glass of water and 1 thin, black folder. I'd made them wait in the lobby for 10 minutes before security let them up. Let them feel the power shift. The boardroom doors hissed open. Robert and Serafina walked in, and they froze. They were expecting a celebration. They saw an execution. "Mom!" Robert's voice cracked. He looked around the dark, empty room. "What is this? What are you doing here? Where's the new owner?" Serafina, seeing no audience, dropped her fig smile. "Elara, what stupid game is this? You've embarrassed us. You've ruined Robert's promotion dinner, haven't you? You senile." "Sit down, Robert," I said. My voice was quiet. It wasn't the voice of Mom. It was the voice of the anonymous new owner. He flinched. Serafina scoffed, but sat, crossing her arms. "This is ridiculous. Robert, she's lost her mind. I'm calling the restaurant." "There is no dinner, Serafina," I said. This is the meeting. Robert, you've been asking to meet the new owner. I wanted to deliver the results of your review personally." Robert's face went gray. What are you talking about?" "I am the new owner, Robert. When your father died, his 51% controlling stake transferred to me. I am the one you've been trying to impress." He stopped breathing. But Serafina, she laughed. A short, ugly bark. You're a servant. You polish silver. Arthur would never leave you in charge of." He did," I said, sliding the black folder across the table. "And as the owner, I've been reviewing my employees. Starting with you, Serafina, your $10,000 a month consulting contract is terminated for fraud." Her face went white. "You can't! And you, Robert." I turned to my son. He was shaking. "Let's talk about your expense reports. Specifically the $3,000 client gift you expensed from a jewelry store, the one that matches the necklace Serafina is wearing right now. That isn't a promotion, Robert. That's embezzlement." He broke. He put his head in his hands. "Oh my God. Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was you. I was going to pay it back. Serafina said we deserved it. She said Dad owed us." "Owed you?" I stood up, my voice finally rising. "Your father gave you everything, and you stood in my house and sighed while your wife kicked me?" "It was a mistake," Serafina shrieked, standing up. "He's your son. You can't do this. You're just a bitter, dried-up old—" "Michael!" I called out. The boardroom doors opened. Michael, the head of HR, walked in, flanked by 2 uniformed security guards. "Robert," I said, my voice calm again, "your review is complete. You are fired from Apex Solutions, effective immediately, for cause. Michael has your paperwork." Michael slid a single white envelope down the table. "As for you, Serafina, security will escort you from the building. A car is waiting to take you home, to my house. You have 24 hours to pack your things and leave the premises. After that, you will be trespassing." "You bitch!" she screamed, lunging. The guards had her in an instant. She was snarling, a trapped animal. "You can't do this! Robert, do something!" But Robert wasn't moving. He was just staring at the white envelope. He was finally, utterly broken. "Get them out of my building," I said. I watched them go. Serafina was still screaming as the door shut. Robert never looked up, not once. I was alone again in the dark, with the city lights. The promotion dinner was over.
And just like that, they were gone. The boardroom was silent again. I know some of you might think what I did was cold, even cruel. But tell me, after all the lies, after the betrayal, what would you have done in my place? If you believe this was the only path to true justice, let me know in the comments. I read them all. The silence in the boardroom was absolute. Michael and the guards were gone.
having escorted my son and his wife from the premises. I stood at the window, looking out over the city. My city. Arthur's city. The lights blurred into a river of gold and white. I felt quiet. There was no joy, no thrill of victory, just the cold, clean feeling of a fever that had finally broken. The infection had been purged. I picked up the single white envelope from the table. Robert's termination papers. He had been so stunned, so broken, that he'd left it behind. I slid it back into the black folder. "Frank," I said into my phone, "bring the car around. I'm coming home." The ride home was different. When I had left this house 3 hours ago, I was Elara, the grieving widow, the servant. When I returned, I was Mrs. Sloan, the owner of Apex Solutions, the one who held all the cards. I walked into the house. It was silent, but it wasn't the lonely, oppressive silence I'd felt before. It was a silence of control. It was my silence. I went to the dining room and saw the silver goblet I had been polishing still lying on its side on the carpet, a dark, ugly tarnish mark. I picked it up, I went to the kitchen, got the polish, and in the quiet of my own home, I finished the job. The next 24 hours were efficient. At 10 a.m. the next morning, a moving van pulled up to my house. Not for me, for Serafina. She had predictably called a lawyer. The lawyer had, just as predictably, called Michael. Michael had calmly explained to him that Mrs. Robert Sloan was an at-will tenant in a property owned by Mrs. Elara Sloan, and her presence was no longer welcome. He also mentioned that Apex Solutions was filing a criminal complaint for embezzlement against both Mr. and Mrs. Sloan, unless, of course, they preferred to handle this quietly. The lawyer had advised Serafina to pack. I watched from the study window as she threw designer bags and shoeboxes into the truck. She didn't look like a high-powered consultant. She looked small, petty, and furious. Robert was not with her. She shot one last look at the house, her face a mask of pure hatred, and got into a taxi. She was gone by noon. Robert, I learned from Michael, had simply vanished. His phone was deactivated. He had left his keys and security pass on Michael's desk. The following Monday, I went to the office. Not the boardroom on the 50th floor, but the big corner office on the 49th. Arthur's office. It had been kept as a memorial. His books, his awards, his photos. I spent the first hour packing all of it into boxes. His legacy was not in this room. It was in the company itself. I called in the design team. I want white walls, modern furniture, and I want a trading terminal on my desk. I want to see the stock market in real time. For the next 2 weeks, I was the first one in and the last one out. I wasn't just the owner, I was the CEO. I didn't fire people, I promoted them. I found the ones Arthur had trusted, the ones Robert and his clique had sidelined. I gave Michael the promotion he'd been denied for 5 years. I doubled the research and development budget. I cut the entire consulting program, saving the company $400,000 a quarter. I was rebuilding the company Arthur wanted, not the one Robert was using. I worked. I ate at my desk. I read quarterly reports until my eyes burned. And for the first time since Arthur died, I slept soundly. I was too tired for nightmares. 3 weeks after the dinner, Michael buzzed my intercom. "Mrs. Sloan, your son is in the lobby." My blood ran cold. "He's here?" "Yes, ma'am. He's asking to see you. He says it's urgent. He doesn't look well." I hesitated. The security guards I had hired for the lobby were good. He wasn't a threat. Send him up. When the door opened, I didn't recognize him. This wasn't the slick, confident executive. This was a ghost. He was wearing wrinkled clothes. He hadn't shaved in days. He was thin and his eyes were red and hollow. He didn't speak. He just stood in the doorway, twisting the brim of a baseball cap in his hands. "Robert?" I said. It wasn't a question. "Mom?" His voice was a rasp. "Mom, I needed to..." He couldn't finish. He just looked at me, his eyes filling with tears. "Serafina left me, Mom. She's gone. She took all the money from our joint account. She said I was weak, that I let you ruin us." "You did ruin you, Robert," I said, my voice not unkind, just true. "The jewelry, the dinners, the invoices. You did that, not me." "I know," he said, a single tear rolling down his stubble. "I know. I'm staying at a motel, the one off the highway. I'm out of money. I sold my car. Mom, I have nothing." He looked at me, his eyes pleading, the same look he'd given me when he was a child and broke a vase. He was waiting for me to fix it, waiting for me to be Mom again. I stood up and walked to the window. "You kicked me, Robert," I said to the glass. "Or rather, you watched her do it. You sighed. You chose a title and a paycheck over me." "I didn't know it was you," he cried. "I didn't know you had the power." And that, Robert, is the entire problem. You thought I was a servant because you thought I had no power. You only respect what you fear. Your father respected everyone." I turned back to him. He was sobbing now. Quiet, ugly sobs. "I'm not going to give you money, Robert," I said. His head snapped up, his face a mask of disbelief. "I am not your mother right now. I am the CEO of a company you stole from. I am the woman you abandoned. You are a 40-year-old man. You will not stay at a motel. You will go to a temp agency. You will get a job. You will rent a small apartment, and you will learn for the first time in your life what it means to work for what you have." He just stared at me. I can't," he stammered. "Yes, you can," I said. I walked to my desk, picked up my phone, and called security. "2 guards to the CEO's office. Escort Mr. Sloan from the building." "Mom, please," he begged, genuine panic at his voice. "Don't do this. I'm your son." "And I am your mother," I said, as the guards appeared at the door. "And this is the last and only lesson I have left to teach you. Goodbye, Robert." I didn't watch them take him away. I sat down at my desk and I approved the budget for the new R&D wing. 6 months passed. The company was thriving. Our stock was up 18%. I had moved out of the old house, too many ghosts, and into a penthouse downtown, just blocks from the office. I was sitting on my new terrace reading the Wall Street Journal when Michael called. "A package for you, Mrs. Sloan. It came by messenger." "Send it up." It was a small, flimsy envelope. Inside was a cashier's check for $75.34 and a note. It was written on a piece of notepad paper from a temp agency. "Mom, this is the first payment. It's not much. I'm working in a warehouse in the shipping department. It's hard, but I'm paying my own rent. I'm paying this back. All of it. I'm sorry. Rob." I looked at the check. $75.34. I didn't cash it. I put it in my dress drawer, right next to the polished silver goblet. That evening I hosted a dinner. Not a promotion dinner, but a real one.
for Michael and the new VPs I had promoted, the real talent. We ate, we laughed, we planned the future. And as I raised my glass to toast their success, I finally understood. Arthur hadn't left me $52 million. He'd left me a job. He'd left me a purpose. I wasn't a servant. I wasn't a victim. I wasn't even a CEO. I was just Elara. And for the first time in my life, that was more than enough. If this story reminded you of a time you had to find your own strength, tell us about it in the comments. We love to hear how you found your voice. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a story of justice being served.